Yes, ma'am. I'm in the ballroom. Yeah, what's wrong? Yeah, who needs it? Here. Does he want it? Does he want a hard copy? I have it printed out, or does he want digital?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Our program will begin shortly. Please take your seats. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Our program will begin shortly. Please take your seats.
Good afternoon, and thank you for attending the Houston Area Urban League's 5th Annual Advancing Opportunity Luncheon. Mobility in Motion, investing in people, pathways, and progress. Today, we gather to celebrate and support the vital work of the Houston Area Urban League, an organization dedicated to empowering communities, creating opportunities, and helping individuals and families achieve economic self-reliance, parity, power, and civil rights. To officially welcome you and share more about the League's vision and impact, please join me in welcoming to the stage the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Houston Area Urban League, Mr. Judson W. Robinson III.
Thank you very much. Very happy that you're all here today on this nice, warm Houston day. Hope you're enjoying all the festivities that Houston has to offer. I know I've become a soccer fan in recent days and hated to see that goal last night against USA at the last minute, I tell you. But that's excitement. That's Houston. But on behalf of the Houston Area Urban League, thank you all for being here and joining us for the 2026 Advancing Opportunity Luncheon. Today, we gather around a theme that speaks directly to the future of our city and something that's very important to me: mobility in motion. Mobility in motion is investing in people. It's investing in pathways and progress so that we have a stronger city that attracts world events like soccer and FIFA. Mobility is more than transportation. It is access to education, to health care, jobs, economic development and opportunity, and the resources that allow individuals and families to thrive. When mobility exists, communities prosper. When pathways are clear, people can reach their full potential. And when we invest intentionally in people, progress becomes possible for everyone. Houston is one of the most dynamic cities in the world. As our city grows, we must continue asking important questions like, who has access to the opportunities that growth creates? At the Houston Area Urban League, that question guides our work every day. We help individuals prepare for meaningful careers, support entrepreneurs, assist families seeking stable employment and housing, and connect people to resources that strengthen economic mobility. Today's conversation will explore how leaders across research, philanthropy, healthcare, and community development are helping create stronger pathways for Houston's future. I want to thank Southwest Airlines, who has supported this event for over 5 years. Let's give them a big round of applause. I want to thank all of our sponsors that are here today, our board members, our staff, our volunteers, young professionals, our guild members, community partners. You all make our world work. Would all of those groups please stand? All those individuals, all those board members, past board members, etc. Our guild, our YP, thank you so much. So thank you for your service. I mean it heartfeltly. Thank you for your service. Houston is known around the world as the home of human spaceflight. And NASA's Johnson Space Center continues to inspire generations through discovery and innovation. So you may wonder, where did that come from, right? I just kind of threw something in. Well, I had the pleasure of joining my dear friend, Vanessa White, the JSC director, for the blast-off of Artemis 3. And it was a life-changing event because it showed a level of teamwork and commitment that it takes to safely get that vehicle off the launch pad into space with human beings on it and then back to Earth. You almost have to see it to believe it. And so I tell that story because I want people to know that people like Vanessa White are possible. I always say that I'm an ordinary guy that happened to find myself in extraordinary opportunity. And I think a lot of us fall into that category, but that has to be created. It has to be intentional. We have to make sure that those with the talent get those exposures to those with the opportunity makers. And oftentimes that does not happen, but we in this room, we care about that. We want that to happen. And I have to salute also the supporting cast members that do that. Back in my dad's day, when he became the first Black City Council member, there were so many people that just wanted to see him be successful. They weren't trying to bring him down. They weren't trying to find an alternate way. They were trying to support a person who had potential to help make everybody's life better. And we have to do that. So although my best friend, George White, is not here, I want to salute him too. Because Mr. White had to be the wind beneath the wings to ensure that this eagle could fly. Let's give it up for George, y'all. God bless him. And my lovely wife, Cora, will always, thank for her support. This year, it's always something. It's our anniversary in a couple of days. It's always around anniversary time, or she has some links event, or Deltas are doing something, whatever it is. So this year, she breaks her toe. Yes. So this morning, dear lovely got up and said, "Baby, I love you, but I cannot walk into that hotel." And I understood that. But let's give it up for Cora for being the wind beneath my wings. So speaking of Vanessa, the next message will be from her. And I think I've said enough about how she's helped to shape how we feel about potential and the importance that a person like her can play at the success of an organization like NASA Johnson Space Center. Please watch the video.
Hello, I'm Vanessa White, Director of NASA's Johnson Space Center here in Houston. At NASA, our mission is clear: to explore the unknown in air and space, to innovate for the benefit of humanity, and to inspire the world through discovery. Every day, we are advancing human spaceflight, developing new technologies, and preparing for the future of exploration. But that work starts long before any mission launches. It starts with people. Behind every program at NASA is a highly skilled workforce. Engineers, scientists, technicians, and leaders working together to solve complex challenges. Building that workforce requires more than technical training. It requires access to education, exposure to opportunity, and clear pathways into these careers. In many ways, this is what true mobility looks like, creating movement, access, and progress for individuals seeking to reach their full potential. That's why organizations like the Houston Area Urban League play such an important role. Through education, workforce development, and youth programming, Hall is helping individuals move forward, creating real pathways to opportunity and long-term success. Their work reflects what it means to keep mobility in motion, ensuring that individuals and families are equipped to advance, thrive, and contribute to a stronger Houston.
RS-25 engines lit. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
At NASA, we know the future of innovation depends on talent. It depends on individuals who are prepared to think critically, adapt quickly, and contribute to complex, evolving fields like science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. That preparation is happening right here in Houston, in classrooms, training programs, and community-based organizations like Hall, where investments in people are shaping the next generation of explorers, innovators, and leaders. When we invest in people, we strengthen pathways. When we strengthen pathways, we create progress. And when progress is sustained, we build stronger communities and a more resilient workforce. This is the power of investing in people, pathways, and progress. And it is essential, not only for NASA's future, but for the future of our economy and our city. It is an honor for NASA to support the Houston Area Urban League and the 5th Annual Advancing Opportunity Luncheon. I extend my sincere congratulations to the Hall Board of Directors, leadership, dedicated staff, and committed volunteers. Your work is transforming lives and creating real pathways to success across this city. This year's theme, Mobility in Motion, Investing in People, Pathways, and Progress for a Stronger Houston, is more than a message. It's a call to action. And today, I encourage each of you to be a part of that motion. Your involvement has the power to move individuals, families, and entire communities forward. Because progress doesn't happen on its own, it happens when people like you take action. Together, we can ensure that opportunity is not limited, but accessible, and that Houston continues to grow stronger for generations to come. Thank you for your commitment, and enjoy the luncheon.
I know Vanessa's here. Vanessa, would you please stand? Everyone's going to want to take a selfie with you. Ladies and gentlemen, Vanessa White, the director of Johnson Space Center, first woman, first black woman, first girl from the hood to ever run the JSC. So she's important. We're proud of her, but it took elected officials to suggest. Yeah, some of them late elected officials. Yeah, to push. So I want to thank the elected officials here today and those who've gone on before. Would they all please stand who are here today, past and present? Takes a lot of courage to be an elected official. Anyway, God bless you all. Let's enjoy the luncheon, and I'll return to my seat for a while. Thank you.
Please join me in welcoming Jacqueline Bostic McElroy, a distinguished attorney, community advocate, and servant leader whose commitment to justice and empowerment reflects a remarkable family legacy. As the great-great-granddaughter of the legendary Reverend Jack Yates, one of Houston's most influential religious and civic leaders, Jacqueline carries forward a tradition of faith, service, and community stewardship that has impacted generations. Today, Jacqueline Bostic McElroy serves as First Lady of Antioch Missionary Baptist Church, where her husband, Reverend Lou McElroy, serves as senior pastor. This historic congregation was founded by her great-great-grandfather, Reverend Jack Yates, in Houston's 4th Ward. In this sacred role, she continues to honor her family's enduring legacy of faith, spiritual leadership, and community engagement. Please join me in welcoming First Lady Jacqueline Bostic McElroy to the stage for the invocation.
Good morning and thank you. Before we partake of our meal, will you please join me in a moment of prayer? Would you please bow your heads? Gracious and almighty God, we come before you this morning with hearts full of gratitude. We thank you for the gift of this day, for the breath in our lungs, and for the privilege of gathering together in unity and shared purpose here in our beloved city of Houston. Lord, we lift up the Houston Urban League, its leadership, its board, its staff, and every official present at this luncheon today. Bless those who have dedicated their lives to opening doors of opportunity, to building bridges where there were only barriers, and to champion the dignity and promise of every person in our community. Grant them wisdom, courage, and renewed strength as they continue this vital work. As we reflect on today's theme, mobility and motion, we ask, oh God, that you would stir within us boldly, vision and forward-thinking hearts. Bless the conversations that will unfold around workplace development, education, entrepreneurship, and an infrastructure in our neighborhoods. May the seeds planted here today take root and grow into inclusive prosperity that reaches every corner of our region. Bless each guest gathered in the room, the leaders, the partners, advocates, and friends. Watch over their families, their work, and their journeys home. And now, Lord, we thank you for the meal set before us. Bless the hands that prepared it, nourish our bodies for the work ahead, and let this time of fellowship strengthen the bonds between us. In your holy and gracious name we pray, amen.
Thank you, First Lady McElroy, for those thoughtful words. Southwest Airlines has been more than a title sponsor for today's luncheon. They've been a consistent, committed partner in advancing the mission of the Houston Area Urban League and uplifting the communities we serve. That commitment is championed by someone whose leadership and partnership we deeply value, Amelia White. Amelia's dedication, support, and belief in our work have made a real difference. Amelia was unable to join us today. Please turn your attention to the screen for a message from Southwest Airlines.
At Southwest Airlines, we are committed to doing the right thing by our people, through our performance, and in service to our planet. Our heart doesn't just give back, it gives forward. Doing our work the Southwest way. Because whether in the air or on the ground, we believe community is more than a place. It's at the heart of what brings us together.
Southwest Airlines, thank you for standing with the Houston Area Urban League and for helping make today possible. As we continue with our program, welcome Vice Chair of the Houston Area Urban League Board of Directors and Regional Vice President and CFO of Comcast Texas, Mr. Alex Obregon.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of the Houston Area Urban League Board of Directors, thank you for joining us today for our 2026 Advancing Opportunity Luncheon. Our board chair, Phyllis Turner-Brim, regrets that she is unable to be with us today, and it is my honor, as the vice chair of the board, to welcome you on her behalf. Today's theme, Mobility in Motion, Investing in People, Pathways, and Progress, reflects the work that brings us together. Creating pathways to economic empowerment, educational success, workforce development, and greater opportunities for individuals and families throughout our community. Your presence today demonstrates your commitment to helping ensure that opportunity is accessible to all. Now, thanks to the generosity of our title sponsor, Southwest Airlines, we have a special surprise for one lucky guest. You ready? In your seat, you will find a copy of the Houston Area Urban League Impact Report. Please turn to page 25. The lucky winner will have a Southwest Airlines sticker on the page. Do we have a lucky winner anywhere? Check your partner's seat. We got one. Okay. Congratulations. Please take your impact report to the recognition desk immediately following the program to claim your prize. Please join me in thanking Southwest Airlines for its continued partnership, generosity, and commitment, advancing opportunity in our community. Enjoy the rest of the luncheon, and truly, on behalf of the board of directors, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for being here today. Enjoy your lunch.
At this time, lunch will be served. Please enjoy your meal and your table conversation, and we'll be back with you shortly to continue today's program.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Our program will begin shortly. Please take your seats.
Ladies and gentlemen, could you please take your seats? Our program will begin shortly.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you are enjoying your lunch. As we prepare for the Advancing Opportunity conversation, please join me in welcoming our moderator, the Honorable Tanisha Hudspeth, Harris County Clerk and Chief Election Official. Elected in 2020, she became the first African American woman to serve in this role. With more than 20 years of public service experience, she is committed to transparency, civic engagement, and expanding access to government services for Harris County residents. Please give a warm welcome to the Honorable Tanisha Hudspeth.
Good morning, Urban Leaguers and supporters, Urban Leaguers. I am Tanisha Hudspeth, your Harris County Clerk and Chief Election Official, and it brings me great joy to serve as your moderator today. And it gives me even more joy that I don't have to talk about elections. How about that? I'd love to give regards to my husband who's sitting in the room. Samson Babalola, will you please stand and give this man a round of applause? You should all know Samson served on the Urban League YP, Young Professionals Board, for more than 5 years straight, and the last 2 as president. So one thing you know, if you cherish your spouse, you always give them their kudos in the room, right? To Judson Robinson and Eric Goody and the entire Urban League Board, who absolutely were a part of raising me here in Harris County, because I was once a YPer and serving as our Civic Engagement Chair. Go figure that. Yes, that's right, to the YPers in the house. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that 55 years ago today, Judson Robinson Jr. was the first African American elected to council in this great city of Houston. Can we give a round of applause for that? And through his son, his legacy grows on. So I'm extremely proud to be your moderator again, to make sure that this panel is one that is full of excitement, is full of transparency, and full of topics that we can walk away from today and implement in our great communities. And today's topic, mobility in motion, investing in people, pathways, and progress for a stronger Houston. Now, when many people hear the word mobility, they immediately think about transportation, going from one place to another, but today we're talking about something much bigger. We're talking about economic mobility. We're talking about educational mobility. We're talking about workforce mobility. And as Urban Leaguers, we're always on the workforce piece. We're talking about creating pathways that allow individuals, families, and entire communities to move forward and thrive. Because the truth is, mobility is about access. Everybody say access. That's right. Access to opportunity, access to resources, access to health care, access to quality of education, access to careers that provide stability and growth. And when we invest in those pathways, we don't just change individual lives, we strengthen Houston's future. Today we have an extraordinary panel of leaders who are doing this work every single day. They are helping shape policy, drive innovation, expand opportunity, strengthen communities, and create solutions that move people forward. This doesn't just sound good, it is good, right? So I encourage you all, as you listen today, to lean in, be present, no snoozing on our time today, okay? And most importantly, be prepared for a dynamic conversation that challenges us to think differently about what is possible when we invest in people first. Are y'all ready? Oh, y'all gotta do better than that. Are y'all ready? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so let's get started. And as you're thinking about today, remember on your tables all over the building, there are ways that you can support the Urban League. Most of you are doing that already. If you have not, be sure to sign up and make sure your name is counted. So our first panelist, someone who I know personally and so proud to work with today, Dr. Ruth N. Lopez Turley. Will you come on up, Dr. Ruth? Professor Lopez Turley directs the Kinder Institute for Urban Research at Rice University, which brings together data, research, engagement, and action to improve lives. In 2022, President Joe Biden appointed her to the National Board of Education Sciences, which advises and approves priorities for the research arm of the U.S. Department of Education. She is a graduate of Stanford University and a Harvard University grad, and originally from Laredo, Texas. Let's give her another round of applause. Our next panelist is Melissa Hensley, Senior Director of Corporate and Community Engagement. Of NRG, Melissa Hensley leads NRG's corporate and community engagement efforts, focusing on investments that strengthen communities, expand economic opportunity, and support long-term regional growth. A native Houstonian, she has extensive experience across the energy, economic development, and corporate sectors, and is committed to building stronger communities through strategic partnerships. Let's give her another round of applause. Last but certainly not least, Kathy Easter, President and CEO of Houston Methodist Global Healthcare Services and Senior Vice President of Community Development. Kathy Easter oversees global operations, strategic growth, business development, and community engagement for Houston Methodist. With decades of experience in healthcare leadership, she has championed initiatives that expand access to care and supports workforce development and strengthen communities. She is a respected leader in global healthcare and community development and serves on multiple nonprofit and civic boards throughout Houston. Let's all welcome Kathy. All right, ladies. What a dynamic panel we have today. Of course, we're going to start with just some opening questions and conversations today to help the crowd not only get to know you a little bit better, but the work that you're invested in. So again, this year's theme is all about mobility in motion, shaping what's next in Houston. So our first question, when you think about mobility, whether economic, educational, civic, or community mobility, what does it mean to you personally and professionally? And there's no order here, so whoever wants to speak up first.
I'm happy to get it started. You want to go first?
I'll go.
I'll follow you.
Okay. I think of opportunity. I think that those are all very interconnected. And as has already been mentioned many times today, mobility, I actually do think it connects, right? It's getting from one place to another whenever we think about transportation, but it's getting from one place to another when we think about mobility in all of these different arenas. And I think they're very interconnected because I think opportunity around education creates opportunity around economic empowerment. Having economic empowerment certainly increases access to healthcare and to other things and ability to engage civically. And so I think all of those things to me are all anchored around the concept of opportunity.
Thank you.
Personally and professionally, I'll build on that. So personally, I have experienced economic mobility to an extreme. I was born and raised in the very bottom of the economic mobility distribution. My mother had an 8th grade education. My father had a 3rd grade education. I grew up very poor. So sometimes when people introduce me and they say, you know, I'm like, it sounds even foreign to me. But through educational opportunities and a lot of people that came alongside me, I was able to experience upward mobility, and it's something that I'm so extremely grateful for, but at the same time, it was for a reason. It's not just for my own personal enjoyment, it's for me to pay it forward and to make sure that I'm doing something to promote that kind of mobility for everybody else. And that brings me to the professional side of things, and that's why it is so important, the work that we do at the Kinder Institute, the research that we do that aims to inform all your efforts, many people in this very room, the Urban League in particular, it informs your efforts to improve lives and make sure that everyone has the opportunities to move up in economic status. And we've done a lot of great work, but we have a long way to go.
That's right. We certainly have a long way to go. Melissa?
Yeah, I would add to that. I think the cornerstones you've talked about, access, opportunity, I think those are critical. And then I think the topic of today as well, partnership. I think partnership is what scales that, right? Partnership scales those pathways. It scales that access. It scales that opportunity. So I think it's those things combined that really create systemic opportunities for mobility.
Thank you so very much. So Houston continues to evolve at an incredible pace. We all know it. When's the last time you sat on 45 or 288, right? Given our dynamic environment, what is the single greatest opportunity Houston has right now at this very moment, to create a more opportunity-driven future?
I'm on a roll. I'll go. I think that, and I'm a Houston native. Left, came back. I think that an opportunity that Houston has that is unique to Houston, that every city doesn't have, is the ability to align across sectors, align across government, nonprofit, educational institutions, research, medical. We have the cream of the crop here. And every city doesn't have that. I think the opportunity is convening all of that, which is one of the things that Urban League does, one of the many things Urban League does really well. But I think it's connecting all of those things. I feel like that's a unique opportunity for Houston.
Awesome. And again, just the single greatest opportunity Houston has right now, what do you all believe is driving the future of Houston?
I think I'll build on a little bit of what Melissa said. You know, thinking about that question, obviously we already acknowledged the greatness of the Johnson Space Center here in Houston. But in addition to that, we have the world's largest medical center. We are the largest port city not on an open body of water. We have a history of being able to do remarkable, amazing things that no one even could conceive of and go and believe. And I think that we've got to harness some of that historical ways of thinking and not continue to focus on ways that things won't work or things that we can't do, or maybe we tried them and it was the right thing at the wrong time. So I think that really harnessing the greatness of Houston while acknowledging that we have a long way to go and we have a lot of gaps, and for us to be as great as we really can be, we've got to continue to bring everybody along with us. And I think that's really been one of the areas that as many continue to excel in all of the fields that you just mentioned, I think we've got to make sure that we're bringing everybody else along. And I think many of us in this room have been recipients of being brought along, and we've got to continue to do that for others. And so I think those are ways. Focus on that Houston spirit that I think is uniquely Houston, most diversity in the United States, and continue to bring others along with us.
I just wanted to build on both of these wonderful statements, but in particular, the need for alignment and coordination. There are already a lot of ingredients in place here in Houston in terms of economic mobility. We have a big booming economy. We have a big population, a young population. We have both governmental and philanthropic investments. We have a lot of organizations in the room that are, have great programs that are offering opportunities for people. All the ingredients are in place, but the alignment and coordination, which is very hard to do. We've got to admit, this is very hard to do. But that is, and there's some of it going on right now. There are some efforts, for example, some of you may be already aware of the Economic Mobility Coalition that has just recently formed. It includes organizations like the Greater Houston Partnership, the United Way of Greater Houston, the Gulf Coast. I'm changing it to golf course, like golf. Gulf Coast Workforce Board, and others that are coming together to really try to align all of these efforts that are focusing on economic mobility. But it is very challenging. I know that Houston has created these kinds of coalitions in the past, and they have achieved a lot of things, but the reality is that it's really hard to coordinate and align, and frankly, here's the biggest ingredient. The barrier that I think is that it requires a lot of humility and a willingness for us to put aside our own egos and even our own organizations. Like, for the sake of a greater good. And I do think that we can do it. I know that there are a lot of people here in Houston that believe in this effort enough to be able to do those things, but we got to admit it's really hard to do. It's really hard to do, but I do believe that we can do it.
That was very thoughtful. Can you give them all a round of applause? There are words that I'm hearing like partnership, collaboration. Everyone that's in this room should be thinking about what that means to you as you sit here in this room and we talk about mobility and motion and how else will work. Something that I'm debating with friends about all the time is, everybody's doing some of the same stuff. How great would we be if we combined our efforts and really expound upon this big thing that we want to get done? So it leads me to something that is really important, and that is artificial intelligence. Ooh, I knew that would happen. It is rapidly shaping industries, education, the workforce, and definitely in politics. For communities already facing barriers to opportunity, how do we ensure AI becomes a bridge rather than another divide? What must urban leaguers, corporations, educators, community partners, there goes that word again, how do we ensure everyone has access to future opportunities? So again, it really is, how do we utilize AI in that partnership collaboration way and maximize, or on the other side of that, work on ways to make it more positive than for it to divide?
I love that question. If I may just jump in here, yes, I love that question because it is something that we all need to get ahead of. Because AI, obviously, it's an amazing set of tools that can do so much for our society and for our community. But like everything else, it can be the same story of increasing inequality for us. So here are a couple of tools. I want to get really practical, if I may. There are a couple of new tools that I'm sure there are others, but two that I'm aware of that I think could be very helpful in helping especially our young people navigate their future careers, because these are changing, right? So the Kinder Institute last year developed a workforce demand dashboard that was really geared toward students, for young people to be able to see which are the jobs in our area that are growing in demand, right, in these newer technologies and so forth. Like, what are the jobs that are growing in demand? How much do they pay? Because we want to make sure that we're leading people toward the jobs that are actually paying living wages and better and have opportunities for advancement. And also, what are the credentials that are needed in order to get those jobs? So that kind of information, I think, can be useful to help young people navigate. But there's also another tool under development by the Greater Houston Partnership called the Connectivity Platform. And that's a tool that will help people navigate in terms of their careers, help them learn about their own interests and their skills, and connect them to programs that can help them advance. And so that one is actually designed for both students and adults. And I know that a lot of work is going into that, and I'm sure that there are other tools in development, but those are two that come to mind. But it's up to us to make sure that we're informing everybody about these tools, and that we're personally providing that kind of assistance to make sure that people aren't left behind.
Thank you.
I think about AI a lot in the healthcare space. That's not surprising, probably. And one of the things that I think about a lot is we don't have enough workforce coming into healthcare. We don't have enough clinicians. We don't have enough nurses. We certainly don't have enough to cover our rural populations here in the United States. That's before we even get into the world. These shortages can really be helped by AI. And so how do we take a nursing workforce and leverage it more? We're doing it today through virtual nursing. And we're, for some tasks that someone does not need to be in the room, and then those nurses are able to take care of a lot more people. We can do that within our own institution. We can do it across our city. We can do it across other areas. So I think focusing on opportunity where we need humans in human jobs, as Ruth was pointing out, where are those jobs that are going to create living wage opportunities, but then also leverage technology to help humans enable humans to work more at the top of their license or at the top of whatever their capabilities are. And I think that is an area of opportunity for us. And I agree, we need to continue to get ahead of that in each of our fields, but to better understand where do these opportunities lie for humans, and to continue to really lean in and make sure that we're creating the workforce that we all need to be able to continue to thrive and do really well in society, while at the same time identifying those opportunities where AI can truly enable us more and more.
That's really good. Before you speak, I want to give you all a funny story. So on our way in this morning, sorry, honey, he was calling to schedule a doctor's appointment. Well, now you get automated or you go to your portal online, and there was an AI assistant. And he didn't have too many kind words to say to that AI assistant this morning. But when we mentioned that, and you mentioned healthcare, it has its pros, right? And it doesn't have its pros if you're just used to calling, getting a voice, leaning into that. But those were perfect examples of AI tools in the healthcare, and I'm glad you said there is a shortage of actual human beings, workers in the field, and so it's forcing a lot of industries to use those technology assets available to them to grow and to thrive and to continue moving forward. So, sorry, honey, not sorry. All right.
I love that. I love the story. I love what you were talking about the tools as well. I have a nephew that is 1 year out of high school, and he thought he knew what track he wanted to take, what career he wanted to head toward, and has been paralyzed by the conversation around AI. Not afraid of AI, not afraid to use it or learn about it, but paralyzed around the whole conversation about careers and what it's going to do to jobs and what it's going to do to different kinds of jobs and jobs going away. And that paralysis is a real problem. It'd be a problem for me. It'd be a real problem if I were 19 and trying to figure out what the rest of my life was going to look like. So I love the idea of those tools.
Tell them about it.
I will. I absolutely will. I also think one of the things that, from the corporate perspective that we've got to be thoughtful about is the idea that there was a traditional pathway to escalate in your career, to learn. I come from a strategic communications background, so you would enter as someone who just came out of college. Your first job is doing research and making first drafts of things, and you're observing and you're working your way through projects and learning in that process, so that hopefully then you can get to the next level where you have a more strategic role and you've learned a lot in those first few years. The challenge in my world, in the strategic comms world, is that much of that first tier of career is now taken up with AI. So AI is doing the research. It's doing the original draft of something. It might even be creating the outline that gets to that press release or that communication strategy. That's great for making everything efficient for the practitioners, but is it eliminating that first tier of job? And so then how does someone get out of college and learn how to, because none of us got out of college and were experts in what we were doing, right? So I think corporations have to be thoughtful and conscious about what that path looks like, and identify how to connect those dots for people. We haven't stopped, certainly NRG, and I'm assuming most corporations haven't stopped recruiting out of college, but we have to maybe think about how we help those folks learn initially, and sort of get their feet under them in their new careers, since we've taken away some of the things that they would be doing to learn.
Thank you so very much. That was good. I heard a lot of mms on that one. All right, Dr. Turley, this one is for you. Your work focuses heavily on research. data, and community impact. What does the latest data tell us about the greatest opportunities and biggest barriers to upward mobility here in Houston today?
Yeah, great question. So I'll start with the barriers, and then so I can end on a more positive note. The big barriers right now that we're facing. Let me start. I'm a sociologist of education, so let me start with the fact that our public schools are inadequately funded. So if we're very concerned about economic mobility and workforce development, it all starts with K-12 education. And I'm not just saying it as an opinion, by the way. There's a ton of research to back this up. I'd be happy to send it to anybody who's interested in seeing the numbers and seeing how inadequately funded our public schools are currently. Texas in particular is among the 10 lowest states in the nation in terms of per pupil funding. But unlike the other states that are in the lowest 10, we have the money. There's a difference there. In fact, we have extra money. We have a surplus, a huge surplus, right? That also, there's a constitutional cap on that surplus. I don't know if some of y'all weren't aware of that. We're supposed to start spending it like now. So one opportunity, it brings me to the opportunity, right, that we have right now is, why not use at least some of that surplus to create, for example, what is currently being proposed by Raise Your Hand Texas. They're proposing using a portion of that surplus to create an endowment specifically for public schools that would create a new source of funding for the first time in over 20 years, by the way, a new source of funding that would be long-term, growing over time, and specifically dedicated to our public schools. I think that could be huge for economic mobility.
That's awesome. Show of hands, how many of you all are in the education space? In any space of education, look around.
God bless you all. Thank you.
Yes, let's give them a round of applause, right? I can think of another great opportunity coming up just months from now. It's called the midterm elections. Go figure that.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up.
And the whole entire room has the opportunity to do major research before November to figure out what those candidates' platforms are and if education is at the table, right? All right. One more for you, Dr. Turley. And I could ask questions all
weird.
day.
You can call me Ruth. Tanisha and I were in the same ALF class, so this is, I feel, let's just bring it down to earth.
Okay, Dr. Ruth. I know, when we walked in, I said, Ruth, hey, girl. All righty.
That would be so formal.
Okay. That's kind of hard to do, but I'll work on that. So, as we talk about, again, opportunities and barriers, we are also talking about, again, that growth, that movement. Houston continues to grow rapidly, right? And in so much so, I see areas where we're just having a hard time catching up to that growth. Does not always translate into opportunity, right? Just because a city is big, it's the fourth largest, right, council member, the third largest county in the nation. What strategic investments are most critical? And I think you leaned into this on the education piece, ensuring all communities benefit from Houston's expansion.
Yeah, thank you. I can add a little bit more to that. First of all, I will say that even though we are still growing, our growth is actually slowing down. Now, I'm talking about population growth. Population growth is slowing down. However, our economy keeps growing. And that's why when we talked earlier about all the ingredients are in place here in Houston. Like, we have a big booming economy, and we still have that large population, though the growth is slowing down. Having said that, in terms of opportunities for investment, in addition to what I just stated about, we need to do a much better job of investing in our public schools. Tied to that is workforce development, both the workforce development that takes place within the education system, but beyond that, workforce development for adults. And I also want to highlight, it's all connected, right? Highlight early childhood education in particular, not only because it's so important for the children, and again, we have a lot of research to back that up, but it's connected to the workforce development because it allows the parents to work. Right, so those two are they go hand in hand. So we need to invest in both of those simultaneously. And again, it brings us back to the alignment, right? We have to align all of these efforts. But there's a lot of research that shows that those kinds of investments can be really productive for both the children and the parents.
All right, thank you so very much. We're going to move on to Melissa. They told me to use the first name, so I won't say Ms. Hensley. So Melissa, is a corporate philanthropy how has this evolved far beyond writing checks? How can businesses become true partners in creating economic opportunity and long-term community transformation?
Phenomenal question, and we've actually been going through and asking ourselves the same question over the last year at NRG, and doing a lot of work around developing a strategy for that, and we're actually starting to change our language a little bit internally. We're talking a little bit less about philanthropy and a little bit more about community investment. Philanthropy, regardless of actual definitions, philanthropy gives the impression of dollars granted out, might be momentary, might be, solving a momentary problem, and that's critical. We can't not do that. But community investment we're seeing as more around like deploying our resources as a company that's doing very well in this city. These are our neighbors. This is our community. Deploying our resources for long-term growth. We will still, look, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, people still need to eat. People still need a roof over their heads. We will always support the community in that way. We will always work with food banks, and we will always do the things that people need to get through the next day. And I think we're doing a lot of work now on longer term support. Things that Urban League does around workforce development and that kind of thing. More than individual moments of support, but long-term partnerships and thinking about what we want to see based on what we're doing today, what that might look like 5 years or 10 years from now. And I think that it's a change that has, I think, made a lot of the folks in my world at NRG feel really good. I have told many people that I know that this is the best job I've ever had. I've been at NRG previously. I'm a boomerang. That tells you something. I came back. There are places I worked I wouldn't go back to, not willingly. But I came back, so that says a lot. And what better job than to use the resources available at this successful company, but to make our community that we live in better.
I think that's incredible. And I'm glad that you rephrase it to investments in communities. Investment is so much different than some of the other language that we use. I feel like I heard a little bit of it, but could you give us a couple more examples of how NRG invests in their actual communities for the room to better understand?
So NRG, and I don't know if everyone knows all of the NRG story, but there are a number of brands that might be familiar to you as well. Reliant, Direct Energy, Green Mountain, Vivint. It's a company that has a lot of tentacles, that's in a lot of places. We support the community in as varied a ways. But some of the things that we're starting to focus on differently right now are really around that long-term community investment space. One of those is workforce development, and all the things that that means. Something that Urban League does very well. But all of the conversation we were having about AI, about shortages, you mentioned shortages in healthcare. There are tremendous shortages in the skilled trades. And so trying to shore things up, and that's a very long-term play. Also trying to do more around some very foundational things like safe, energy-efficient housing. Supporting energy efficiency upgrades in various parts of the community so that folks who are living in the home they've lived in for a very long time but can't necessarily afford to repair or to seal the windows or to replace the windows or all of those things that starts to drive your energy prices up. Trying to, one house at a time, working with organizations like Habitat and community development corporations to help solve some of the fundamental things in people's lives.
Thank you so very much. If this is your first time in the room, Houston Area Urban League, all of Urban League, is at the forefront of workforce development. Are there any people in the house? Raise your hand if you have been impacted by the Houston Area Urban League in some sort of way. And workforce development, you've served on the board, you've fundraised, you've done something that should be most of the room raising their hands by now to impact workforce development in our great city. Thank you so very much. All right, we're going to move to you, Kathy. I love your last name, Easter. What a last name. So, Kathy, healthcare and economic opportunity are deeply connected. From your perspective, how do healthcare access, social determinants of health, and economic mobility intersect?
That's a great question. So I think that social determinants of health, sometimes people don't really fully understand what that means, and it's those things that are around you where you grow up. Do you have access to transportation? Do you have access to food? Safe housing? In fact, the zip code that you were born into can oftentimes have more determination around your health status than your genetics. And so how do we continue to impact that and positively impact that? And I think that's really where that connectivity between economic empowerment, wage earning jobs. And I know we talk about wage earning jobs a lot, and I'm actually trying, and there seem to be some folks in the room here today with the Houston Area Urban League who can partner with me on this. It's not just wage earning jobs, it's wage earning jobs with benefits. Because that's where access to health care and access to other things come into play. And I get it. I started a small business a long time ago with my spouse, and it was a really tough decision to make to reinvest in our workforce, but we did it through benefits. But it's those things that I think, again, how do we continue to shore those things up? But they're all completely interconnected. And so as we work with organizations like the Urban League, where job creation, upskilling, not only opportunities for our youth, but opportunities for adults who want to go back and upskill and re-enter the workforce into other areas. Those are ways that any one of us who are in companies today can work with an organization. And in fact, Houston Methodist is working with the Urban League very proudly. And I think that those are really one of the things that we talked about is there are so many organizations that are doing so many things, and it's convening and bringing those together. And I think that every single one of us in the room, we can leave here today and think of a way that we can make that difference. I will say, though, before you go out and duplicate efforts that others are doing and possibly doing very well, then you can partner with organizations that are already doing the work. Oftentimes, all they need are more hands and more money. And so I think many of us in this room have the ability to help and do many of those things.
There goes that buzzword again, collaborate and partner. Yes, give a round of applause. So the pandemic highlighted disparities in health outcomes across communities. And I'm sure you still get this today. What lessons did Houston learn in specific, And how can we move from awareness to sustained action?
You know, we're a really good respond to a disaster city. We have a lot of chances to show how great we are at that, unfortunately, whether those are natural disasters or, in this case, a worldwide pandemic. Those of us in healthcare felt it very differently than some other groups. But one of the things that I can say that our organization did, again, we did partner. We partnered with a whole lot of folks. We partnered with the city. We partnered with the county. We partnered with a number of federally qualified health centers and free clinics that are in the greater Houston area. There's a lot of healthcare access. It's connecting people with it at times. And so one of the things that we also did is we worked with organizations we had just not really worked with very closely before. Methodist was actually one of the organizations that was designated as a vaccine giver, and so not just to our patients, but to the city and to the county and to anyone. And when we started realizing that our reach was incredibly limited, whenever we looked at our reach and our scope, we partnered with the Links Group. We partnered with Latin Women's Initiative. We partnered with schools. We partnered with faith groups, churches, synagogues, mosques, faith groups of all types. We partnered with grocery stores to get flyers in grocery bags so that people were made more aware. Construction companies. We partnered all over the place because we knew that while we had a life-saving vaccine, there are a lot of historical reasons why there's distrust of the medical system, distrust of vaccines, but yet we wanted to continue to make it, for those people who wanted to take advantage of that, we wanted to make it available to them. We wanted to make it easy for them and create access. And we were only able to do that through partnering with everybody. But then, while COVID still obviously exists today, but the pandemic as we knew it, it passed. And our human behaviors went back to the way that they do. We went back to doing the work that was at hand, the work that was in front of us. And I think that all of us have to continue to acknowledge, as I said in the beginning, Houston is great. We partner, we put down barriers, we all roll up our sleeves when there's a disaster in front of us. And I think we are just going to have to convene a little differently. And as Ruth said, ego has to continue to move to the side, and we have to not only work with the willing, but work with the best. And if your organization is not absolutely the best at it, and there's a partner organization, we've got to get better at partnering. And that's hard. That is hard for all of us. I'm not just, and I think Methodist is also a funding institution, so we do a lot of funding. And I think at times, sometimes even as funders, we make it hard for people to partner because we provide enough resources that people don't have to. And so we're going to have to really work hard, both as those of us who receive funds and those of us who have funds. But I really do believe that every single one of us in this room has the ability to take that spirit of things we did when we were all under duress, we were all under the same levels of stress and at times hopelessness. But those disparities, those were very identified, and there's no two ways about it. You can look and see where neighborhoods and groups of people were much more disadvantaged during the pandemic versus others. And we have all the ability and all the ingredients and all of the organizations and power that we can harness to work more closely together, to partner, and make this city better for every single person in it.
Thank you for your transparency. The reality of discussing zip codes in certain areas of town and what the impact is versus other communities. Also speaking about how sometimes institutions can make dollars hard to receive in areas. I think that resonates with many people in this room. Ruth, I'm coming back around your way. As a woman leading one of Houston's premier research institutions, how important is representation in shaping policies and conversations that truly reflect the needs of our diverse communities?
Oh my goodness, it is extremely important. Representation is actually at the core. I didn't ask her to ask this question, by the way. It's at the core of everything that we do at the Kinder Institute, not just internally in terms of like our personnel but it's also at the core of the research that we do. Many of you all are already familiar with the Kinder Houston Area Survey and its 45th year. It's the nation's biggest and longest running metropolitan survey. We're proud of that. But here's the part that we're most proud of. It's actually representative of the demographics of our community. Like, we work really hard to make that happen, and that's why we work really hard to make sure that we have a really high response rate, which was 80% this year, by the way, 80%. That's how we can say confidently, all the information that we're reporting about our community is actually representative of all our community, not just those who vote. Sorry, but we want to know about those who don't vote, because unfortunately they're very different from those who vote, right? We want to change that. We want to change that. Yeah, we want everybody to vote.
When everyone says vote, they look at me and say, sorry, did I get that right?
But so all that to say, representation is at the core of the research that we do. And then for me, as a Hispanic woman leading this organization, that's a very important part of why I do what I do. I'm also a person of faith. That's a very important part of why I do what I do. And what I shared earlier, I grew up poor. That's also a very important part of why I do what I do. So representation is at the core of everything that we do here.
Ruth was ready for that question, wasn't she, everyone? All right, I'm going to move to you, Melissa. Access to careers in STEM, energy, and innovation remains uneven. How can corporations help build stronger pathways for women, minorities, and underserved youth into high-growth industries?
I think the biggest thing you can do that's sort of foundational is as a corporation, open your aperture for recruitment. Think bigger than the 3 Ivy Leagues that you're always recruiting from, or think differently about what a perfect candidate looks like. Be really careful not to let everything be about referrals and people already in the organization bringing in more people that they already know. It's certainly a great way to recruit. It's not the only way, and it should be a kind of a narrow way. I think that, a lot of corporations opened things up in the last 5 years to the idea that maybe every person who joins the organization doesn't have to have the same profile, the same degree, the same whatever it is, right? It's being really thoughtful about making sure that you're not over-indexing on cultural fit when you're hiring for your own team or your own department. You'll start to have a team where everyone looks the same. And then not only have you not created those pathways, but you also now have a fairly narrow way of thinking on your team or in your department. And so you're missing the opportunity of points of view and backgrounds and experiences. So I think my first thought around that from a corporate perspective is that opening your aperture for recruitment. Think about it in a much broader sense. That value can come from many, many different places.
I just have to add, there's a bunch of research, I'm sure you know this, that shows, by the way, that teams that look the same are not the best teams. They're not. This is just from a purely, so you can totally justify this. This is very important for any team. It has to be diverse. Those are the better teams. The teams that look the same are not the best teams. Look at that research.
I believe what Dr. Ruth is saying, everyone.
It is too.
All right, Kathy. Women are increasingly shaping the future of healthcare leadership. How has your leadership journey influenced your perspective on mentorship, inclusion, and creating opportunities for others?
I just want to add to what Ruth said. I actually lead the global division at Houston Methodist, and it is the most diverse of any division in the entire organization. And I think that, and I think we're all better, and I think we're all better as a result of it. But when I think about my journey as a female leader, my entire professional career has been in healthcare, and it's all been at one organization. So I've been at Methodist over 30 years. And okay, 35. I'll own it. I mean, I used to say how long I'd been at the organization, and then people would start to look at me like, "Oh, girl, how old are you?" I mean, like, Lord, you're old. And so I stopped, and so I started saying over 20. Over 20 sounds so respectable. It's like, wow, that's a long time. It's a good long time. 35. Now people are like, when are you leaving? I mean, God, leave and open those doors you keep talking about for other people. So I've been there a long time. Because I've been there a long time, actually, when I started, I didn't have a female mentor because even though healthcare, even then, was 76% female. Other than our nursing executive, there was not a female leader in my organization. And I wasn't a nurse. I'm a business person, public health background, so that was not a fit for me. So I had to have a male mentor at that time. In fact, we only had white males leading our organization. And most of our physicians also were predominantly white males. It has changed dramatically during the time. I am not responsible for it. The world has changed it, and I'm grateful. But I take it all very seriously because I know what that was like, and I know what it was like to not see myself represented in a leadership role. And I knew that I had what it took to grow into those things, and then eventually as more female mentors came along. But I also realized even at a kind of younger leader stage that I was going to have to be that for other people because it wasn't there yet. And I'm incredibly grateful to my peers who've joined the organization. We've got great female leadership. But whenever you said increasingly, there was no decreasingly to go. I mean, there was nobody there. So, it has had to, just by sheer math, it had to increase. But it has continued to increase. And healthcare is an amazing career. It has, I think that there are lots of jobs that people can get a foot in the door in healthcare. And if they want to work hard and achieve other things, it is a great, healthcare institutions have great opportunity for upskilling and for people to continue to get additional degrees and again, really lead. I feel like I lead the American dream. I also, my parents were not educated. I grew up, I've really been able to do those things, and I've been able to do it at one organization. But because of how many doors people opened for me that they did not have to, in no way, shape, or form did they have to do it. Lots of people did, and I have found myself compelled to continue to open those doors and lead that way forward every single day. And I think every one of us in this room has that ability and has had that experience. And so it's just continuing to lead by example and hoping that others see something in you that they then want to emulate and grow and develop in their own network and continue to bring that tide of people forward. See one, be one, and lead one. And so let's continue to do the work.
All right, I love that. See one, be one, and lead one. So we talked a great deal about partnerships today. And this is from the audience, and we only have so many seconds on this one because we're running a little bit behind, but I really wanted to get this in. If you could identify one action that business, government, nonprofits, and community leaders should collectively prioritize over the next 5 years to improve mobility and opportunity in Houston, what would it be? Remember, we don't have much longer, so just straight to the point.
Honestly, I think that what needs to happen is, we were just talking about this, about COVID, is take the lesson from COVID and move with urgency. I think that we saw COVID as a crisis, and I don't know that we're properly identifying other crises that are in front of us or coming in our direction. But something like that can mobilize us, and where we see the urgency. And all people, all walks. I mean, during COVID, we had all the institutions that we've talked about, but we also had artists creating masks. We had distilleries creating hand sanitizer. We had It was everybody, because there was urgency. I think moving with urgency.
Awesome. Can we give this distinguished panel another round of applause? What an incredibly rich and thought-provoking conversation. And now we are going to lead to the next portion of this program, which is near the end. Thank you for everyone listening in and learning something. But let me lead you all with a charge. For those of us who have been inspired by today's conversation, we want you to think about how that mobility in action will be in your corporations, in your offices, in your spaces as you move forward. So the homework is to go home and see what you learned from today's panel and how you will implement or be a part of that impact. Again, thank you to this panel. Thank you for allowing me to be your moderator. And we will close out today's lunch session. Thank you, everyone.
We hope you enjoyed the panel discussion. Before we close, I am sure you have noticed the beautiful floral arrangements generously donated by HEB. You can take these flowers home with you for a donation of $50 to the Houston Area Urban League. Scan the QR code on your table and it will take you to the donation page. Please show your receipt to the hostess as you exit the ballroom. As we close today's program, please welcome Eric Goody, Executive Vice President of the Houston Area Urban League, to the stage.
Now, you don't want to miss what's next, so please, everyone, just hold tight for us.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know that I am standing between you and your weekend, so I'll try to be as expeditious as possible. First, I want to thank our panelists and our moderator, Tanisha Husband, for a powerful conversation. Absolutely. We're very, very intentional in curating this panel with a group of dynamic women with diverse perspectives. Yes, absolutely. A group of dynamic women with diverse perspectives that could share information around economic mobility. 100% Judson. Hearing about the importance of mentorship, access, intentional investments from leaders representing energy, transportation, education, and business really reinforce the opportunity. The opportunity doesn't just happen, it's built piece by piece by people who care. I really want to take a moment and deviate. I so appreciate and have great gratitude for all of you that are with us today. The corporations that have invested, but more importantly, all of you that have shown up. It really, really means a lot to us. Thank you so much. You know, this panel was a reflection of what's possible when diverse voices come together. With a shared commitment to progress. The perspectives shared today were not only insightful, but they were also necessary. You know, and since I'm ALF, I'll call you Ruth, but Ruth was very transparent in sharing her origin. She said she grew up poor, but look at her now, in close proximity to the Kinders, at the Kinder Institute. You know, Melissa said a number of things. She said, expand your aperture. Wow. Broaden your perspective, broaden your vision. She also talked about a transition from philanthropy to community investment. And what do you invest in? Things that are important, things that have value, things that will provide a return. Kathy Easter talked about, from a global perspective, the need to take all of your resources and mobilize them in a way that impacts the communities in which we live and serve, but that also create a value to corporation in terms of economic mobility, employee and talent acquisition. And so a lot of great nuggets. You know, I was taking copious notes as you ladies presented from the stage. At the Houston Area Urban League, we believe that creating real, lasting change starts with moments like these. And again, it is because of you that we're able to facilitate moments like these. But more importantly, it continues with the work we do every single day in our communities. Another moment of executive privilege, Judson, board, staff, just take a moment and stand, please. Yeah, Judson, under your leadership, at a time like this, we are achieving unheralded success here in the city of Houston with the Houston Area Urban League. With the board leadership and the staff that does the work every day, we're able to impact countless of families and individuals through our various programs. Again, a moment of gratitude, celebrating a moment like this. Thank you, Judson. So now we'd like to share a glimpse into the work. Let's take a look at this short video that highlights the individuals and families impacted by the programs and services that make this possible.
Welcome. I'm Judson Robinson, President and CEO of the Houston Area Urban League, and I want to discuss with you the need to make a positive impact in the lives of Houston's underserved communities. I want to encourage you to be a part of this historical movement of empowering our community and changing lives by getting involved with the Urban League. Why? Well, if you want to leave an impact on this world and improve the lives of those who have experienced systematic inequalities and would like to provide these courageous men and women with hope for a better tomorrow, I encourage you to join the legions of other Houstonians who made our work more meaningful in the community and made our community stronger.
Outstanding, thank you. Mobility in motion. You know, now we invite you to be part of that impact. But we have a special celebration today. You know, we are very intentional with our corporate engagement, our public engagement, and so we have with us today Councilmember Edward Pollard. Councilmember, if you step to the stage. You know, again, we're very fortunate. We're very intentional and very aggressive in pursuing grant opportunities. But Councilmember Pollard came to Judson and talked about, again, an investment in the community. And so we met, we had some dialogue, but then he backed it up with a financial contribution to, and we've heard this a lot, our workforce development programming. You know, workforce is an economic driver, and we know that without significant resources, these types of investments, that we would not be able to achieve the successes that we are. So, Councilmember, we just appreciate you coming out today, you know, showing up, staying the day with us, your investment, and we look to replicate this. We're going to allow you to have some words, sir.
Good afternoon to you all. It is a pleasure to be with you. As I was sitting there listening to the panelists, one of the questions was, what are some of the barriers to upward mobility? And the barriers come down to people and money. You have to have the programs, and you have to have organizations like the Urban League to put forth those programs, but you have to have the money to put those programs into motion. And without the money, you can't do anything. And so luncheons like this and fundraisers that they have throughout the year go a long ways towards putting that work forward. We can't always lean on the government. We can't always lean on the public school system. We're going to have to do it ourselves. If we want to ensure that people have a better quality of life, we want to ensure that our kids have opportunity, then we have to step up to the plate. Many times we use our tax dollars at the city of Houston for, infrastructure projects and, things that have to do with water and streets and drainage and parks and libraries. But we really also need to invest in the boots on the ground. The organizations and the nonprofits that are really out there on the day-to-day, putting in the work to ensure that our city thrives. And my office has the pleasure and the privilege of today presenting a check on behalf of the District J community to the Urban League for $20,000.
Isn't that outstanding?
So when you want to know where your tax dollars are going, they're going to the Urban League. So I want to thank Judson and the entire board, all the volunteers, all the staff, Eric and everyone for all your outstanding work, your contributions to the city. And this is a charge to you all. If you go on the Urban League's website, they say, how can you partner? You can volunteer and you can give. It's only $70 to become a member. You can volunteer, and I would add one more thing. Don't you just do it, invite others to do it as well. God bless you all.
So, you know, we're going to take that 20,000 and we're going to leverage it. We're going to make it grow. We're going to make it grow because that's what we do. We don't spend, we invest. Yeah, so that 20,000 will become 200,000 potentially. We're going to leverage that along with a very, very generous award we just received from Houston Methodist for our workforce development programming. Kathy, thank you so kindly. We greatly appreciate you. Also, another recent award that we just received from Health and Human Services, $295,000 over a 5-year, multi-year grant through the leadership of John Robinson. Ramel Williams, our Senior Director of Workforce Development, continues to yield results, contributions for our Urban Tech Jobs Program. Thank you, Comcast. Our urban energy programs, I'm just naming a few, because it's so important that, you know, everyone that supports us understand that we are great stewards, not good stewards, great stewards of your investment. Not your philanthropy, but your investment. We push that money into the communities we serve to make sure that individuals and families are as whole as possible, that they have what they need to not only to be self-sufficient, but to also thrive. One thing that I heard from the panel, opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. We are not in an environment of scarcity. We are in an environment of abundance. Abundance. We started this luncheon hearing the thrust and the rumble of that Artemis rocket, Vanessa, going up. We felt the vibrations. And so again, here in this city, the Urban League is just privileged to be a part of the ecosystem that helps families thrive. Before I continue, though, Tanisha did something that was really important, and I certainly need to acknowledge my lovely wife and partner, Benora Goody. Thank you, darling, for joining us today. People oftentimes ask me why I continue to do the work I do, why I show up like I do. It's because of this lovely woman that has supported me for over 30 years. And, you know, Kathy, as you said, I've been in service for over 20. Like it's almost 30, but it's over 20. So on the screen, on the back of your impact report, the impact report is a great document. It highlights the significant successes that we've had across our portfolio of services in education, housing, workforce, health, entrepreneurship. You'll see a QR code. You can scan it, you know, right now to make a contribution. But also, again, I want to acknowledge everyone that has already contributed. We so appreciate you, how you continue to show up with your resources that allow us to have this Advancing Opportunity Luncheon that serves as a mid-year. I mean, this is a mid-year point. This is the momentum that is going to push us through the remainder of the year as we go towards our 2026 Equal Opportunity Day Gala, which is going to be amazing. But you can scan the code, you can donate. If you haven't already, you can do so. You can add some additional lanyard if you're so inclined. If you prefer, you can fill out one of the cards from a hostess. Hostess and volunteers are here in the room. Members of Hall will gladly come by and collect it. Of course, you can go to our website, our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram. It's all there. Why these contributions are so important? I think we've answered that question. It's about economic mobility. It's about being of service to the community. It's about being other-centered. It's about making sure that people have what they need, again, to sustain and thrive in an economy where there is abundance. The Houston Area Urban League serves more than 15,000 people annually through all of the programs that I've mentioned. Each of those individuals has a story, some of which we've heard, a need, a dream, and your support helps ensure that we can continue to meet them where they are. You know, Kathy said something really interesting about Methodists and how they mobilize, taking resources into the community through both traditional and non-traditional partnerships and assets. That's what we do with the Urban League. We take our services into the community. We mitigate and reduce barriers and access to entry. This partnership with District J is going to allow us to partner with Career Gear over in Southwest Houston, taking our services there. And as we wrap up, again, today's Advancing Opportunity Luncheon is the first of our two major fundraising events. Again, I've mentioned the gala, December 12th, held right here at the Hilton Americas. I encourage each of you to mark your calendars, reserve your tables, consider becoming a sponsor. Thank you, Councilmember Pollard, for doing all of that for us. I mean, he really teed it up. You know, it's an event you don't want to miss. Information about the sponsorship and opportunities, ticket sales are on the screens, the back of the impact report, etc. As I close, again, thank you for helping us to advance progress and make Houston a stronger place. Thank you. With that, we are adjourned.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Houston Area Urban League, thank you for joining us this afternoon. Travel safely and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. This concludes the 5th Annual Advancing Opportunity Luncheon.